Hello, folks. Great way to start, Bryn. Fantastic. Hello, nice to see you all back again. Let me get straightened up a little bit. As always, my time management is fucking impeccable, and I've decided to run around and decide I want to do a bunch of stuff before I go live. But if you know me personally, you know that is me. But yeah, no, it's nice to be back. I've been meaning to do this for a little while. I did say I would do another stream when it goes live and such, and when I had a chance. But yeah, just stuff got in the way, and my motivation recently just has been in the toilet if it's not been for work. So yeah, I finally wanted to get out of my funk again and kind of get the rest of this ranking out, considering it's been like almost 2 weeks since I did the last one. Today we're going to obviously rank 40 through 20 through my Letterboxd account. For those of you that are new to the channel, I just basically pull up my Letterboxd hey Rose / Mike / whoever else is watching. Yeah, so this is just today. I'm going to pop up my Letterboxd, go through my ranking like I did before. We got to about 40 last time, if I remember correctly. These videos are always bloody long, no matter where you go or anything. So yeah, like if you watch other people's like rankings of the year, Sean Chandler's one is like 6 to 8 hours long because it's like 100 films that he's watched. I've only watched 58, but obviously last time the first half an hour, 40 minutes or so was just catch up stuff. Just like me talking about where I've been and whatever, because it's been so long since I posted. But yeah, no, it's I wanted to get this promoed out there and not there earlier, so I had more people come through, but it's just been trying to find the time. It's just awkward. Anyway, enough me babbling about why I haven't fucking recorded in a while or streamed or anything. Let's just get into it. So yeah, I've got my Letterboxd up over here. I'm hoping this is all working. By the way, guys, if my audio sounds terrible, if it looks terrible or whatever, just let me know. I don't know if I'm coming through well or what have you. So you'll have to let me know yourself, and my stream's doing something. So yeah, I've just checked my stream. It all seems to be good. Seems to be Gucci. So yeah, as you can see, this is where we got up to last time. We're in the 8 out of 10s now. We got to Lilo and Stitch, which I thought was a pretty good film. I'm not going to lie. Overall, I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, let's move on to number 40. So, Elio, right? So, I've probably just spoiled 39, but there you go. I'm trying to scroll it up without revealing too much. Thank you. Yeah, 40. So, Elio. So, Elio was the latest Pixar movie that came out last year. For a bit of background on it, essentially, I don't know everything, and if you know the full story, please do correct me, because I may not be entirely correct. But essentially, the directors that originally pitched this idea to Pixar and wrote it, their story was to make Elio a lot more queer. Elio was supposed to be a queer character, and a lot of the struggles that you see within the film, which I'll get onto kind of in a second, was supposed to be a lot more queer coded. Disney going through like the Florida stuff, which you may know a little bit about, like with Ron DeSantis and the gay stuff. Within the parks, they've become a lot more. Disney was a liberal company, or as liberal as you can get if you're a big company, but and they support a lot of left-wing values, especially the creatives that they employ. And essentially, the original creatives left the project because Disney leaned on them a little bit and said, can you make this a little bit less queer? Make it a little bit less gay? And Disney essentially, decided, nah, fuck that. We're not going to let you bastardize our project. We're going to step off this and let somebody else come in, essentially, which is what happened. So Domi Shi, who wrote and directed one of Pixar's films from 2022, Turning Red, which I enjoyed. I like the early 2000s nostalgia in it. And it had some fun moments, but overall it wasn't really for me. Maybe it was for others, but didn't really hit me where I wanted it to hit me, like films like Nimona and thingy from that similar time period did. Animated films, I should say. And yeah, it didn't really hit like that. And then they brought in Domi Shi. She rewrote a little bit. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the story got rewrote and essentially turned into a completely different film. Now, the film I watched, I really enjoyed. I'm a big space fan. I love NASA. I love going into space. I love learning about space. I love learning about different galaxies. Brian Cox is like one of my biggest turn-ons. Every time that guy comes on and starts talking about the vastness of the galaxy, I was like, I ooze listening to that guy talk. He's just so fantastic. Yeah, sometimes you can. Not sometimes. Most of the time, you can accuse him of making the same show over and over and over again because it essentially is the same stuff. But you do learn some new stuff from it, essentially. So, I love space race stuff. Stuff about space, the 60s, NASA now, everything that's going on at SpaceX, aside from Elon fucking Musk. Everything that's going on with Blue Origin, stuff like that. I don't know everything, but I'm fairly interested, and I'm interested in our development to Mars, like our eventual reaching of Mars, and that is essentially what Elio is in this. For a little bit of setup, his parents essentially pass away, and he's raised by his aunt, who works for the space program, and he lives with her on base, and he's essentially running around like a lunatic. Interfering in her work and stuff, and trying to contact outer space to see if he's really alone or if there's people out there. That obviously ties into the theme of him losing his parents and grief and such. And yeah, essentially he sneaks into they find this deep space signal. His aunt, who works for the military and on this base for space, essentially like Space Force, and they send out a signal. They receive a signal from space that hits their dish, and Elio sneaks into the control room while the other people are out, and essentially says, "Are you out there? This is Elio Solis. I'm speaking on behalf of the human race, and please let us know if you want to make contact." Essentially, in his own little way, and then all of a sudden, like a day later or later on the next day, he's sent to camp because of how disruptive he's been around the base. And aunt, who's played by Zoe Saldana, essentially sends him to military camp because she thinks it'll be good for him and it'll help him get disciplined. And while he's there, he gets abducted by the aliens and gets taken to the Communiverse, which is like their version, very Star Trekky. Feels very Star Trekky rather than the Star Wars version of like intergalactic planets where everybody hates each other and like the Senate's like boring. It's like Star Trek or the Orville where like everybody works as a community and all these aliens come together for betterment of the universe, essentially. And then I'm trying to remember the character's name. I'm just going to pull this over here. But while that's happening, he essentially meets Lord Drygon, I think his name is Lord Drygon, played by Brad Garrett, and he's there, and he essentially wants to take over the Communiverse. He wants to join the Communiverse, but they think he's too scary to join the Communiverse, which is kind of cute. And the Communiverse don't know what to do, so Elio steps up and says, like, I've just met my new friends and seen this new world. I'm going to help out my new friends and help out the Communiverse. Goes and is like the diplomatic mission to Alderaan person. He's like a diplomatic attaché, whatever you want to call him. He goes to Grygon and reaches out and says, like, you are a little bit scary, essentially. And they have a thing where he accidentally insults him, he gets thrown in the basement, and he eventually ends up meeting Gordon, who's Grygon's son. And they have a really cool, like, cute bonding friendship together, which I originally think is where the queer stuff was supposed to come from. But yeah, it was a really good film. The animation was striking. The scene with "And the Days Go By," I can't remember what the song is now, but was really good. The setup to it was fantastic. The adding in the space stuff, you're always going to get me. And the story about this kid who's essentially lost his parents and wants to connect with something bigger than himself, and feel like part of the universe, I thought it was really cute and touching. I'm not going to lie. It really pulled on my heartstrings. I really enjoyed quite a lot of the laughs and such. Like, I don't remember everything. Like, I will say with this list, I'm not going to remember everything I watched in full detail because I watched half of these like 6, 7, 8 months ago. So not everything is going to be right in there. So I am going to have to refresh myself a little bit. This is where I say my streams are a little bit more chilled out. I'm not going to remember everything. I just want to ramble about what I enjoyed. So there you go. So that was Elio essentially. Hijinks occur. Clone gets sent to his world, back to Earth, to his aunt, to kind of, and in the end, he realizes that he doesn't need space. He doesn't need the communiverse and the people there to feel wanted and connected. He can just connect with his aunt, which is like, it's like a thing of like, sometimes I feel that, like I go and watch films and I'm so absorbed into films and I'm absorbed into this film world and like, I get a bit obsessive sometimes. I've always got to find the newest scoop on the new Supergirl movie or Avengers Doomsday when there's a new trailer coming out. Blah, blah, blah. I get so like tunnel visioned that sometimes I need family, friends to kind of ground me back on planet Earth. And that's where I kind of felt like the not companionship, but like where I felt like Elio, if that essentially makes sense. So that's why I really connected with this. It's not fantastic. It's not the most bombastic thing that Pixar has put out. It's not going to win any awards at the Oscars this year. It might get nominated because they tend to like nominate a Pixar movie for Best Animated Picture, and there wasn't really that many fantastic animated pictures last year that I can think of off the top of my head anyway. Must-see ones. I'm not saying there weren't, but off the top of my head, I can't think of that many else. So yeah, I'll probably get nominated, and I thought it was good considering all the production trouble it went through, as I addressed. Considering Disney literally put no promotion into this. It bombed at the cinemas because like literally nobody knew it was coming out, and then it came out, and it came out in like late August, when Freaky Friday or Freakier Friday. What else? Just going to have a quick Google. It was like Freakier Friday. There was a big. I'm sure there was a bit. Another big release in August. Naked Gun. Or was it June? It might have been June actually. I think it might have been June. I might have just told a Porky Pie. Yeah, no. Elio came out roughly around, I want to say June now. Yeah, late June, which would have been before Superman and Fantastic Four, but it would have been the same time as like Ballerina, which obviously are different audiences, so they wouldn't have like crossed over. Kids movie, big blockbuster action movie with Ana de Armas. Not really going to interfere with the box office, but I'm sure there was other stuff that came out. F1, which was big. How to Train Your Dragon, that took a lot of the business for families and kids and stuff. So yeah, it just kind of like died, and then like obviously Lilo and Stitch was still continuing on. There's some other ones and stuff. I know, not the Porky Pies. I'm already telling Porky Pies. But yeah, so yeah, that was Elio. I enjoyed it. Gave it an 8 out of 10. I would continue to watch it again. It's on Disney Plus now, so if you haven't seen it, give it a chance. May not be for everyone's cup of tea or taste, but it's a cute little movie, like most Pixar movies are. Like, it's not gonna make you bawl in tears like a Soul or a Coco or an Inside Out or something like that. But it'll still get you, and I think you'll feel some sort of connection. So let's move on to 39, right? So this one's going to be a little bit more spoiler heavy because of what it entails. It's part 2 to part 1 of a film I loved. It was one of my favourite movies of 24. Wicked, the musical. the musical adaptation was fantastic. I've never seen it on the big screen. The theatrical production, I should say. I need to like get my words right. Let's have a sip so I can actually think. But yeah, so I've never seen the theatrical presentation, both on the West End or on Broadway. But I don't really tend to have that kind of money. I'm not going to lie. But whenever I used to go to London quite a lot for the hospital when I was a kid, and whenever we used to go past, we'll go through London and such, depending on what underground station we got. We used to see all the big Wicked posters. That poster's like ingrained in my memory of like Elphaba's hat, though. That on her face, and the poster that everybody remembers from Wicked. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed the first one. The music in the first one is fantastic. And I saw a lot of people talk online about how the second half of both Gregory Maguire's book and the play aren't as solid as the first half, because the first half is like Elphaba's coming out story. Like, I've been this repressed kid who's been bullied by my dad for so many years, treated as an outcast because I'm green, treated as like the shit on somebody's shoe, and then all of a sudden I'm shown all these wonders and shown that I can mean more. People do like me, people do care for me, and I'm not going to be held back by everybody else's rubbish anymore. And like, she obviously connects with her inner child, and then the defying gravity stuff happens, which is why it connects so well with me. Is I don't care what anybody else thinks of me anymore. I've cared for so long about what other people think. I care so much about what other people what other people think of me and my reputation and whatever. So that's why I kind of connected with the first one. Obviously, like, the music's fantastic. Ariana's like, we forget that she used to act when she was a kid. Like, my sister used to watch Victorious and stuff. She was fantastic. Like, she really got the character of Glinda. The music was very poignant. Like, it's got so many bangers in the first part. Dancing Through Life, No One Mourns the Wicked. Like, I can just read them off. Defying Gravity. The scene in the ballroom, with the Ozdust ballroom. Everything in that film is literal, for want of a better term, gold dust. It is. It fits in so well to the Oz universe, and it was the first film, probably since either Hunger Games or Harry Potter, where world building was just like, I want to sit in this world. I want to just sit there. I want to soak it in. I want to be like, for people that may be coming from the Dungeons and Dragons server, I want to sit in there as an NPC and just like absorb this world. Like, how is it different from ours? All the colour, because most films don't have that much colour anymore. Like, a lot of them, especially action films, are like dark and drab. So when you get a John Wick, which is like covered in neon and pinks and purples and stuff, it kind of like pops. No, I'm not giving you a sing song. It pops. It pops on the screen. Like, it just does. Obviously, like, people complained about the lighting and stuff in the first one, but it's still colourful compared to most things. It just was, the cinematography was a little bit flat, I'm not going to lie. So going into this one, I was expecting a pretty good conclusion. I wasn't expecting it to be fantastic. I expected it to do right by the characters and essentially adapt the second half of the stage play, but just add some, because apparently there's not that many more songs in it apart from the big one that everybody's seen everywhere, and now I'm forgetting because my brain doesn't like to work some days. Is it for? I think it is For Good. I think that's why they called it Wicked for Good. Funnily enough, I think it is For Good, which is their version of like Defying Gravity. And yeah, like, I think this part did exactly what everybody expected it to do. It was not great. It felt very much like it skipped over beats. Like, for people that were curious, is Dorothy in this? You get a couple of shots of her back and some silhouettes, but that's it. The stuff that happens with Nessa happens right at the beginning. For those of you that don't know, and now I am going to spoil Wicked. If you care, now's the time to turn off. Maybe come back in 10 minutes. But essentially, the way the book works is Nessa gets heartbroken about Bok. Bok obviously still cares for Glinda, and was only with her just because like Glinda asked him to, essentially, and is stuck with her for that reason. They're both from Munchkin Land and all that as well, so it makes sense. But he essentially storms out and has a massive argument, and Nessa starts reading from oh god, my brain is not really working tonight, is it? She starts reading from the Grimoire. Starts reading from the Grimoire and like trying to make Bok love her. And as she does that, she essentially squeezes his heart too small. So Glinda has to, Elphaba has to go into the book and try and reverse it, and essentially turns him into the Tin Man. So Bok becomes the Tin Man without the heart from the Wizard of Oz. Also, because of that happening, Nessa Rose is essentially the Wicked Witch of the East. She gets the house dropped on her by Madame Morrible, and kind of Glinda's idea, because she wants to get back at Elphaba for essentially stealing Fiero, which is the beginning of the film, because he loves Elphaba, not Glinda. And later on in the film, he gets captured, and he becomes oh bloody hell. You got the Cowardly Lion, which is the lion they rescued in the first film, and then also he becomes the Scarecrow without a brain, because he gets captured trying to save Glinda, and he gets tortured essentially by Madame Morrible and the wizard, and she tries to save him to make him feel no pain, which is where the No Good Deed Tiny Heart Club, No Good Deed Goes Unpunished song happens, which so they try and tie it in, and you do see Bok as the Tin Man a couple of times when he's inciting outrage and rage against, and gets together his own little posse to kind of take down Elphaba and stuff. And yeah, it cuts around the parts with Dorothy and the characters from The Wizard of Oz, and it just feels very jumbled, for want of a better word. The songs are nowhere near as good. For Good is kind of good, and the No Good Deed Goes Unpunished was good. The intro where she's coming in on a broomstick to the Yellow Brick Road and messing shit up, great. There's some really good scenes in here. There's some good scenes between Glinda and Elphaba and the wizard, where the wizard still tries to tempt her in. And they have that song where they do essentially Defying Gravity, but they swap, where Elphaba's parts are done by Glinda and Glinda's parts are done for Elphaba, which I kind of liked. I like that they kind of reprise it but do it differently. And I think they did the same thing with Popular as well, but I've only watched this one once. I haven't gone back to see it yet because I didn't really enjoy it that much. Yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because it was satisfying in certain ways, but it's one of those things where, like, this is what I'm struggling with the Percy Jackson series that my sister's watching, and I'm really going to struggle with the Harry Potter show, is how can I get invested in a story that I already know the outcome of? Now, I'm not saying you can't invest me in a story that I've already watched or I already know the ending to or whatever, because if you make the characters interesting enough, I'll still be there. If they feel like the characters from, so the Harry Potter remake, if they feel like Harry, Ron and Hermione from the films, or at least similar to, I'm still going to be invested, especially if they start adding new stuff in. Same with Percy Jackson. I like the characters that they've created in the Percy Jackson show, but I've watched the first 2 Percy Jackson films. Yeah, they're not great. I loved them. There's something kitschy from when I was a kid, right? But Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the first film, The Lightning Thief, and the second film, The Sea of Monsters, that's essentially what they're adapting with the first 2 seasons of the TV show, which is stuff I've seen before. I'm not saying it's not some of it new, because especially with Sea of Monsters, it felt very much like a TV movie, and they jumped over a bunch of stuff. But once we get to season 3 and it's all new content, stuff I've not seen before from the books, and Annabeth and Percy and Grover and the rest of them, and Luke and all that get to actually grow up, as they do in some of the books later on, I might actually be a little bit more interested because I've not seen that before. Obviously, if they get season 3. But with this, I pretty much knew the story because I'd seen about it beforehand. I was a little bit of a git, and I read ahead essentially and found out what the ending was. But it was just like kind of paint by numbers. And it didn't have the electricity of the first. Ariana's a lot better in this. I think she kind of steals the show this time, whereas Elphaba for me was the show stealer, the scene stealer in the first film. I'm not saying Glinda didn't have her moments and stuff, but yeah, it didn't work out for me as well as I want it to. The jumping around, the time jumping, like literally, I think if you were to edit this into a supercut with the Wizard of Oz, like they kind of do with Revenge of the Sith and the Siege of Mandalore arc from Clone Wars, like literally edit it in. So like there's a scene in Clone Wars where Ahsoka comes in, where Anakin is being sent on the mission, or Obi-Wan's being sent on the mission to Utapau to go and reach out to the Utapauans because they think General Grievous is there after the first encounter. And Anakin's there, and she walks in literally as Anakin is leaving to go. So she doesn't actually get to see Anakin again, apart from like the first episode of that. And they cut it in so it works properly. And then when Anakin turns to the dark side and reaches out through the Force, and Yoda feels it and Obi-Wan feels it, that he's killing Jedi and the clones are killing the Jedi, Ahsoka feels it as well on the bridge of the Venta that she's on with Rex and the rest of them after they capture Maul and all that. So they edited that, the 4 20-minute episodes, into Revenge of the Sith, and it flows so well, even though like there's a cut between animation and live action, so you have to adjust for that. With Wicked and Wizard of Oz, it would feel different because they look different, but essentially if you put those scenes in, this might actually be a better film because it just felt so chopping. It felt like it's like, are you not allowed to use the rights to the Wizard of Oz? Like, can you not use clips from the thing, or are you not allowed to have a Dorothy? I suppose that's what the book is like, because it assumes you already know the Wizard of Oz, and I haven't watched the Wizard of Oz in a very long time. But yeah, so I don't know, there's some cool moments in it. I really enjoyed Glinda's moment out on the balcony with Elphaba. Some of the stuff with the wizard was great. The stuff at the end when he finds out she's his daughter as well, because they kind of tease that in the first one with the bottle that Elphaba keeps. And a bunch of the other stuff. Fiera gets a lot more to do. It's nice that they have their levitating kiss, even though like obviously people, if you know film stuff and go on film Twitter, you know everybody had a massive kind of rear up with the actors on actors. Could be copyright, I don't know, when it comes to that. But they did, Jonathan Bailey, who plays Fiero, he was also in Jurassic World this year, which might be coming up a little bit later. I don't know, I might have already talked about it. We'll find out. I don't know my list through my head. But yeah, he did an Actors on Actors, which is essentially a podcast with David Corenswet, who plays Superman. And David Corenswet said it's just so cool that you could be so masculine being lifted up by a woman, because in my film I'm obviously kissing in the air with Lois and such. So, and people just took that as him being like insecure about his masculinity, and how dare Jonathan Bailey, a gay man, be lifted up into the air by Cynthia Erivo's character Elphaba and whatever, like, oh, that's an affront to his masculinity. Just like drama shit like usual, and it pissed me off. But I love both the guys. I think both the guys are very good. I love Jonathan Bailey. I love David Corenswet. But that was just like additional like frosting on top of the cake to go on top of this review. Me whinging about something. What a surprise. Anyway, so yeah, Wicked. This is one I do need to watch again for good. I will probably pick the Blu-ray up and watch them back to back and see if it works out better for me that way. And then I might do an update in a video or a stream or something further down the line once I get them both. But for now, it just sits at an 8 out of 10 for me. So yeah, let's move on next. So next up, we got Death of a Unicorn, So this was a film I was really interested in. I love A24 stuff. A24 stuff is either really horny, really weird, really cool, or a mix of all three, right? Death of a Unicorn was very much the first one. So it's very much a critique of capitalism. Essentially, Jenna Ortega and her dad, played by Paul Rudd, go to this manor to essentially help out this family. He works for the Paul Rudd's character works for the family, and they get invited to go up to the house and become helpers. It's essentially like a work retreat, so we can meet his boss, who's Richard E. Grant, right? On the way, they're travelling up this massive scenic road in, I want to say, like Montana. Yeah, I might not be right on that, but it's like a big, massive mountain range in the middle of America. The Canadian Rockies. I lied. So it's Canada. Of course it was Canada, then bloody Canadians. Anyway, so they're travelling up there to have a work retreat so we can meet his boss and talk about the new stuff they're going to do with their job. Doesn't really mean anything because it kind of goes off the rails later. On the way, something steps out in front of Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega's car. Yes, I'm going to call him Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega because I can't remember the character's name. Right? Yeah, that's probably true. This is one we probably need to have a bit of a discussion about in private, Rose, because and it's one that I probably need to watch again. I'm not gonna lie, it was one that I watched once in the cinema, and then when I tried to get back to watch it again, other stuff came up. But I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. It was just Anyway, back to Death of a Unicorn. So essentially, they're driving along. They're going up to this manor, and while they're on this big scenic road in the middle of the Canadian hills, they hit something, and they don't know what it is. And they get out the car. Jenna Ortega's playing typical Gen Z, like Vapor, with like doesn't give a shit attitude, hates her dad because her dad's a corporate stooge, blah blah blah. And they're sat there and they're looking at this thing, and it kind of looks and like it. They look at it and they go, "Did we just hit a horse?" And she looks, and if you've seen the trailer, she goes, "Dad, that's not a horse, that's a fucking unicorn," because you can see the horn. And as she looks at the horn, she sees like the life of the universe and everything. She trips balls. She kind of sees the future a little bit, and all of a sudden, she's back in the room. And as she's doing that, her dad's like, "How should we deal with this thing? It's still crying out for its parents or whatever." So he goes into the back of his car and gets out like a hammer or something, bludgeons this unicorn to death. A24. What do you expect? And just sits there and starts bludgeoning this unicorn to death. And then they just carry on with their kind of retreat. Put the thing, what do we do with it now? Do we leave it on the side of the road? They were like, "Oh, can't leave it on the side of the road." So they put it in the back of their car, got up to the retreat. And yeah, the family are fucking nuts. Richard E. Grant plays like this decrepit old, about to die billionaire who's like wickedly evil for absolutely no reason other than to be wickedly evil and to be wickedly rich. And because Richard E. Grant is the poshest man, one of the poshest men in the UK, and he can pull it off with ease. Oh yeah, I'm glad you know. You're doing better than I am. You should be my fact checker. But yeah, so essentially, they take it up there, and Richard E. Grant is maniacally evil. Taya Leone, who plays his wife, essentially, they work for like a miracle drug firm, and she's less evil, but you can kind of feel it. And then their son, played by Will Poulter, who's the kid with the eyebrows from We're the Millers and Narnia, but as most people know him now, Adam Warlock from Guardians of the Galaxy. And he's just an idiot. He plays an idiot really, really well. He's dumb, he's rich, he's airheaded, he posts on social media constantly. He don't give a shit, right? And he's like showing off his lavish lifestyle. Well, slowly but surely, the unicorn starts to wake up. They have to find it. Jenna Ortega goes to the bathroom, and she's still kind of got the unicorn blood on her face, and as she's going there, she has acne beforehand, and it just disappears, and her acne completely clears up like that because of the unicorn blood. And other things start happening as well that are a little bit weird. And slowly but surely, they hear some banging coming from the truck, and they have to explain to Richard E. Grant and his family, yeah, we kind of hit a horse. And Ridley goes, no, it's a unicorn. And they're like, unicorns don't exist, blah, blah, blah. And then they finally meet it, and they bring the body inside and start running experiments on it. And because they're part of Big Pharma, they want to start hacking its horn off to kind of like see if it could cure cancer, because essentially he takes a little bit off the horn, takes it, and then his ailment just disappears. And now he's got his lust for life back again, and he wants to go out there and start hunting unicorns and fucking shit up. Part of the way through the story, the unicorn, as it's coming back to life, starts calling for its parents, and his parents arrive. And his parents are fucking huge. And they start tearing shit up. They start trying to kill the scientists who are on thingy that are trying to learn about the miracle cure that this unicorn horn could have. And yeah, it's the best way to describe it, and maybe it's because Taya Leone's in it, who she was in Jurassic Park 3. It felt very much like Jurassic Park. It had a lot of like gore, it had a lot of creature features, there was a lot of there's a lot of like creature moments. Yeah, Merlin. I need to rewatch Merlin. Thanks for that. But yeah, essentially, you're ruining my train of thought. Sorry. But yeah, so it very much reminds me of Jurassic Park in like they literally gore people with their horns, and they make the creatures look really realistic. And essentially, like, it turns out it's just a mother and father trying to protect their kid and raise him again. And if you attack the unicorn, they become the dark version that like starts eating people and looks like death reincarnated. And if you leave them normally, they start to turn back into unicorns, and they can stop people from dying and other stuff. So it's one part Jurassic Park creature feature, one part critique of capitalism and rich people trying to do what rich people do best, exploiting the natural resources of the earth to try and make a quick buck, especially people that are in Big Pharma. It's also one part kind of like a father and daughter bonding movie, because it's essentially about Paul Rudd trying to get closer to his daughter because he doesn't really get on with her. And all of that together, it was just fun. I'm not going to say it's the best film. Some of the creature effects look a little bit weird at times. Some people just do some really dumb decisions for no reason. The guy that plays the lead scientist, I think Jenny Slate's in it, and also he played Metamorpho. Anthony Carrigan, he played Metamorpho in Superman, but oh no, I lied. It was Sunita Mali, not Jenny Slate. I thought Jenny Slate was in it for some other reason. But yeah, this is one I only watched once, way back in May as well, so my recollection isn't always perfect. But yeah, it was a fun creature feature critique of capitalism, and I thought Jenna Ortega played the bratty kind of kid who hates her dad because her dad's like a sellout, essentially, really well. I thought Paul Rudd, he's normally good at playing, he can play bumbling, dopey, kind of like, oh yes boss, no boss, kind of defeatist people well, but he's mainly known for playing like obviously Ant-Man and cool charismatic characters. He's always the douchebag in a lot of his comedy films. He's the knobhead that everybody hates. So for him to play the what's the word? I'm trying to think of what's the best word to describe it, but like he essentially kowtows to whatever anybody else does. He's meek, mild, doesn't rock the boat, and does whatever he can to be the best employee he can. And then obviously like Richard Grant's having fun, mugging the screen, putting all sorts of wacky faces, being the most over the top kind of like hunter, kind of like, oh, fuck this, I'm going to go out here. It was really fun. Taya Leone's really good. She gets a really good death in it. Will Poulter's just hilarious. That guy's hilarious. He was hilarious in We're the Millers, but he can do comedy really, really well when he wants to. Like some of his funny lines in this just cracked me up. And yeah, like it's a fun. It would have been a fun movie for a lot of people to watch in the cinema, but especially for a streaming film, if you got a chance to stream, if it's on some sort of streaming service, probably a really good one to check out. Right, next, kind of a little bit of a spoiler there. Next on the list, Zootopia 2. This is one of the more recent ones I watched. I like the first Zootopia, or Zootropolis, or whatever you want to call it, because obviously it's Zootropolis over here. I like the first one really well. I love a good buddy cop film. I love a buddy cop film with Walt Disney Animation, separate from Pixar, usually make good stuff. I want to say that's normally like the arm that does the Disney Princess movies and things like that. But they also put out films like this occasionally as well. And the first one, really good, fun film with some fun moments. I rewatched it again quite recently, in the run up to this, and yeah, it was really enjoyable. There's nothing, like I say again, stands out. Some funny moments, like obviously the mafia daughter and all that, and no, for I can refuse, and the polar bears and stuff was really interesting. Was really funny, and then obviously like the setup at the end. Disney loves their twist villains. They've always got to put twist villain in something. Big Hero 6. I'm trying to think of what else there's been a twist villain. There's so many twist villains in Disney movies, that you become numb to it after a while. There's always somebody who's somebody's friend, and then all of a sudden is not, because of plot reasons. But yeah, it was an enjoyable enough film. And part 2 works a lot more on Judy and Nick's relationship, whatever you want that to mean. I'm sure there's a lot of fan artists out there that want it to mean exactly probably what you're thinking right now. But yeah, it works on their kind of like buddy cop, friendship, budding romance, if you want to call it romance. Jason Bateman and Ginnifer Goodwin, always great. Their vocal performances are great. I always love Idris Elba as the chief. Ki Kwan as the snake, whose name I actually forget off the top of my head. Was a cool character. There's another twist villain in this that I don't want to get into that much, but essentially the setup is reptiles aren't a thing in Zootropolis. Reptiles have been run underground. They hide out in pockets, but mostly they're a thing that's unheard of, and especially snakes are not a thing in Zootopia. So something happens. Essentially, Judy and Nick have been partners for about a week or so, and they're really struggling to work. She wants to go out there and break all the big busts like they did with the last bust, with whose name I forget, the sheep lady, that I believe is Jenny Slate. Bellwether, the assistant mayor. She also has a cameo in this as well, which is kind of cool. But Gary the Snake, nice. Thank you for that. You probably knew that off the top of your head because you went to see this, didn't you? But essentially, they're really struggling with their partnership, and predators people start going missing. Predators start going missing, I believe. Or am I? That's the first one, you idiot. What is happening with my brain? I think these lights are melting my brain, guys. But yeah, so they're out there doing a bust. They bust this guy who's illegally importing things into Zootopia. While they find traces of Gary, and and she spots him and thinks something's up, as she always does. She's got a really good cop brain. So she saw it shed its skin, but nobody wants to believe her. I'm essentially reading it word for word off Wikipedia now because my brain needs a thingy. But essentially, Zootopia was founded by the Linksley family. They have this book of the creation of Zootopia, Zootropolis, whatever you want to call it. And they think the snake wants to steal the book, or wants to do something at the gala because there was something to do with the gala with the snake skin. They go there. Of course, Gary turns up, played by Ki Kwan, who I love. The book disappears, and then they have to track down Gary and a hooded figure that helps Gary escape and see what's happening. So I don't want to spoil this too much because this is one of the more recent ones that's come out, and there might be people watching that actually want to watch this. But I thought it was good. It's just as good as the first one. The story's interesting. We get a lot more about Zootopia lore, Zootropolis lore, why Zootopia is the way it is, what made the walls between the different districts, like the deserty region and the icy region and things like that. We get a lot more work on Judy and Nick's relationship, as I said, like them being at odds with each other. Nick's a lot more laid back. Judy's so much more uptight. She's always got to catch the criminal. He's just kind of a little bit more relaxed about it. He's got his skills that he's great in, which is like talking to people, conning people, things like that, being able to pick up on the subtler details, whereas she kind of goes in all guns blazing a lot. And that's why like Chief Burger doesn't really look at that much, because she's way too much for a lot of people. But yeah, like the story's really good. The plot's, I would say, a lot more intriguing. The Predators one is obviously from the first one. This one, it's more of a... It feels more Indiana Jonesy. The book leads to something. The book of the creation of it. The book is important, and essentially they go on a treasure hunt, for want of a better word, because there's something on the book. Feels like National Treasure now. There's a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence that'll lead you to this place and lead you to that place. But yeah, the book leads them somewhere, and we find out more about Zootropolis' history, and maybe the Linksleys aren't everything they say they are. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah, really good animation. It's one of the biggest blockbusters. I said earlier with Elio, I don't think there's that many big animation movies that I really liked. Zootopia, and then I realised I've got the bad guys coming up as well. There we go. I should probably look through my list beforehand. But yeah, really, it's one of the biggest highest. I think it's the highest grossing American movie of the year. I could be wrong. Avatar might be on its heels, and obviously Minecraft and Lilo and Stitch are in third and fourth. And obviously Najar's the biggest movie of the year, or Najar, or however you pronounce it. I do apologise to my Chinese viewers, the one person out there who's Chinese that might be watching. But yeah, it's biggest movie of the year for a reason. Pixar and Walt Disney Animation always put out one big banger every couple of years. Turning Red was obviously not Turning Red. Why is my brain? Inside Out was obviously year before last, so 24, and then they do occasionally put out some big ones. So yeah, I would say if you like the first one, I think you're really going to enjoy this. There's a lot more to it. The story's a lot deeper. They've got a fun like treasure hunt essentially. Gary's really interesting, and it explores more like as a good sequel should, in my opinion. Was it? I think it was the highest grossing movie in America, but I think as an American movie it was behind Avatar and Minecraft worldwide. I believe. I'd have to look at the numbers, but yeah. So as you can see, number 36, Ballerina. So there's really not that much to say on this. It's a spin-off of John Wick. It was nice to see Lance Reddick in it again, considering he passed as Sharon. Even if it was only for a little teaser. John is obviously in it. their showdown towards the end was pretty good. But essentially, she's a ballerina. She works at she grows up. She's her parents are killed. Winston visits her as a kid and says, I know somewhere where you can go. She goes to Madam I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but Angelica Houston's academy, joins the Roscaroma, essentially the clan that John's from. She sees John a couple of times throughout the film, and this is very much a spin-off of John Wick 3 before he obviously dies in John Wick 4. And yeah, it's a really good story about her trying to hunt down the people who killed her family and learn more about herself, which she does. And there's some action beats to go along the way. She does her first essentially the women's side of the Roscaroma. They rescue people and take people out that are essentially hurting women. They become ballerinas, they become swans, and they rescue people that might need it. But they were also sent on like hitman jobs as well, like John was. But yeah, there's some really good action scenes in it. There's a full scene in the end in a city right at the end where Anna's character bear with me. And the other thing is, as it's just reminded me, it was directed by Len Wiseman, who that Mike may not like me for this, but he's made a lot of the Underworld films. Now, Mike loves Underworld. My mum loves Underworld, but from critical standpoint, not a lot of people love those films. Like, they're not well received. They don't do big at the box office. Kate Beckinsale, the only reason people watched a lot of them was Kate Beckinsale because she was hot as fuck. And then obviously you had some of the lore in Rise of the Lycans where like Charles Dance? I'm trying to remember now. Came into it. For a couple of episodes, or was it Bill Nye? I think it's Bill Nye. Davy Jones himself. But yeah, I am yet to see them. You slaughter me in the comments all you want. I don't watch every film. But yeah, I just I thought it was going to be terrible. There was rumours that your man who Chad Stahelski, or however you say his name, stepped in to help right the ship because it wasn't going very well. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Obviously, Chad Stahelski directed the other four. But there was those kind of rumours going around that it stepped in because most of them Wiseman's films, most people don't like or aren't well received. The one I did actually like of his that he made was the fourth Die Hard movie, and the one with Jason Long and Timothy Olyphant and Thingy as his daughter, as Lucy McClone, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I really enjoyed that film. It's not a fantastic Die Hard movie, but it rebooted the franchise in a really good way, and then obviously 5 kind of killed it. But yeah, I wasn't really sure, but yet another one I really enjoyed. Norman Reedus has a really good cameo in it. There's a really good action scene where he's barricaded himself into... For people that don't know, Norman Reedus is Daryl Dixon from Walking Dead. He barricades himself in a Continental, and obviously you can't do hits inside the Continental, so this group tries to find a way to take him out without breaching the rules of the Continental, kind of trying to make it look like a suicide or something like that, because if you breach the Continental, you get bumped off, you get killed. So they're sent after him because he's got a bounty on his head, and he essentially also helps her to find her way to the place that she wants to go. And he also feels sorry for her because he has a daughter that he keeps there as well. So yeah, it's essentially like, it's a really good spin-off. I thought Anna was fantastic. Eve was fantastic. She really sold it. I know people are going to complain, oh, she can't fight for the grown men, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. if you're a trained assassin that knows how to take people out, knows how to use their weakness against them, kick them in the balls, take the legs out from underneath them, you can do better damage than some dude that doesn't know how to fight. Now, you put somebody like that in a room with a trained male fighter, may have a different outcome. I'm not going to doubt that. But me personally, if that happens, she's going to kick my ass. Right? So essentially, Winston brings her into the Ruska Roma. She says she's going to become a dancer, but also trains to be an assassin. Oh, the director, that's Angelica Houston's name. I thought she had an actual name. But yeah, so they kill for business, they don't kill for sport. They send her out to take a guy out, and she ends up rescuing this lady, and that's where she kind of falls into Norman Reedus' stuff. And then she finds out that her parents were part of a cult that live within the world of the assassins, that kind of stick to themselves a bit like the Amish, and the world of the Continentals and stuff like that don't interfere, because these lot are mad as all hell. And that's the reason why their family was taken out, because they're trying to escape the cult, basically. And the last scene where she infiltrates the cult, meets the leader, Gabriel Byrne, finds out something else that I'm not going to tell you about, because that's kind of a big spoiler. And the last 40 minutes are a huge all-out action fight where she just takes out this whole cult village who just want to kill her. And it's fantastic. There's the shot of her from the thingy where she's fighting this guy, and he pulls out the flamethrower and she pulls out the hose, and they fight each other. And there's a scene with her where she meets John Wick. John Wick's been sent, since recommitting himself to the Continental after he chopped his to the High Table, where he cut off his wedding ring and all that and recommitted himself. He gets sent by the High Table as one of the missions that he needs to do to regain their loyalty and prove themselves. He gets sent after her, but he can tell that she's not here for malicious intent. But they said if they keep tracking her down, if you keep doing this and you keep trying to take this cult out, we're going to have to take you out. So she says, right, you've got until this time when the hit goes out on me. If you can give me 30 minutes to deal with my stuff, then you can take me in. And he's like, cool, okay then, I'll help you out. Essentially the last 15, 20 minutes is just him helping her out. So it's a pretty simple plot. Yeah, I've spoiled it a little bit. I did say some of this is going to be spoiled, some of it isn't, depending on the film. So this is another one I need to watch again. It's recently just come onto Prime, because I think Lionsgate has a deal with Prime, and I think all the John Wick films are on there, also because of the Continental TV series they did. But yeah, it's not as good as the Wick films, but it just builds out the world, and she's a very good Anna de Armas. People say that she hasn't got a good grasp of the language or things like that. She's fantastic. Her English is fantastic. Why would it not be? She acts in so many fantastic films. There's that weird thing going around about that. It's what are you talking about? She's a fantastic actress. She convincingly pulls off the action scenes. She looks great in every scene she's in. She holds her own. The choreography is fantastic. Whenever she gets into a fight, the action scenes are off the charts. What else were you expecting? This is a ballerina movie. It's a spin-off. It was going to be good. Stahelski's involved. It's not going to touch the Wick films, but it doesn't have to. For all intents and purposes, if you've watched Chapter 4, he's dead. Now, they might bring him back for a Chapter 5, which I'm like, why? Perfect ending for John Wick 4. But you can continue the franchise now with her. With Hiroyuki Sanada's daughter, from Chapter 4, whose name I also forget as well. She was fantastic. Rina Sorayama, who plays her. Akira, she's Koji's daughter. Koji runs the Japanese Continental, from Chapter 4. And you can do some stuff on Kane as well, because obviously Kane is Donnie Yen's character. They do a lot there with him because he's blind, so he's essentially Daredevil. And in chapter 4, so you could do a story about him and Akira trying to get revenge on Kane for killing her dad. That's a film you can do. And then spin off where she has her own series. You can continue with Ballerina and send Eve Macaro onto different stuff. There's so much stuff you can do within this world. It doesn't have to involve John Wick. It's the same thing that I always get annoyed with Star Wars. If the galaxy's so big and everything happened so long ago in a galaxy far, far away, why do we keep coming back to the same group of like 50 characters? Why is everything tied to the Skywalkers, to the Fets, to the Palpatines, to people that know and associate with those? Why does it keep coming back to Ahsoka? Why does it keep coming back to these characters? Now, I'm not saying that I don't enjoy those stories, but why are we not doing stories like they're doing with the new Starfighter film with Ryan Gosling? Set in the Star Wars world, but it's its own thing. Now, Ballerina got the boost because John Wick was in it, but I'm not saying, who's to say that Ballerina 2, once people have seen it more on streaming and stuff, doesn't get a sequel and continues to do well? Because I think it made it quite a bit of cash. It's not going to make big money. John Wick movies never make big money, so I don't know what you're expecting with that. But yeah, like I would be up for that. Up for seeing where John and his crew go next. Yeah, so that was 36. Let's move on to 35. So, yet another 8 out of 10. Tron Ares. Now, Tron, the first one, I think I'd watched part of years and years and years ago when I was in the hospital. Getting some bloods done. We used to do all day bloods because of our condition. And essentially, I watched parts of it, didn't always get it. And then years ago, when the hype was going out about Joseph Kosinski's Tron Legacy, I watched that film and I lost my mind. Like, that film is fantastic. It's got fantastic world building. It was essentially, I believe, it's not, but it was, to me, one of the film that started the trend of legacy sequels that we get now. Without Tron Legacy, we don't get Force Awakens. We don't get the reboot. Well, I suppose Star Trek came out before that, 2009. But those two films kind of rebooted a lot of franchises. We wouldn't have got the reboot of Ghostbusters. We wouldn't have got all the reboots that we're getting now. Final Destination, all that. Reboot / legacy sequels where like old characters come back from older films. Freakier Friday doesn't happen. All the films that you can think of where old characters come back and we get a new story told with those characters wouldn't happen without Tron Legacy. And Jeff Bridges is out of his mind with that script. Yeah, the CGI is kind of terrible on his de-aging, but just give him such a great load of dialogue. He's Jeff Bridges. He's like saying the word man every 5 minutes. He's chilled out. He's stoned. It's just Jeff Bridges, but like they give him such fantastic dialogue, like talking about the species, the human race, and how it will live on forever, and all the different dialogue that they give him to like express himself. It's like poetry, some of it in that film, and then occasionally it will sprinkle in the odd man. And then you have Cora, played by Olivia Wilde. She's like absolutely gorgeous in that film. She's just stunning. And she was great as well. There's the manic pixie dream girl on her, which people go on about the woman who's kind of like, she's crazy and a little bit out there and whatever, but like they infantilize her, they treat her like a child. So you got to have a big strong man come along to teach this like hot girl without a brain how to do the world, and like he take advantage of her and stuff. Like, there is that kind of trope there. I'm not going to say she isn't, but she's also a fucking badass. Like, there's so many scenes in that film where like she holds her own, she kicks ass. The amount of like people she dereses, like, which is essentially Tron's word for killing, was great. I really love that film, and without that film, essentially started Joseph Kosinski's career, because like that going into then Only the Brave, which I also love, about the Granite Hotshots fireman and the tragedy that happened there, and that big cast. Miles Teller's fantastic in that, and then he goes from that to Top Gun Maverick, which is another legacy sequel that I love, and they did F1 this year. He brings back big blockbuster filmmaking like it was in the 80s. Original films, well, apart from Top Gun Maverick, and he knows how to make these films feel big in scale. He knows how to make emotions huge. He knows how to push everything to the point of exploding, but just bringing it back. And it just feels like every single film you watch, it's an edge of your seat thrill ride, where you don't know whether you're going to cry, whether you're going to laugh, whether you're going to jump in the air and pump your fist with excitement. And on top of that, he always fills his worlds with interesting characters, with interesting looking cityscapes or environments. Like the costuming that he does looks fantastic. So going into Tron Ares, I'm not Jared Leto's biggest fan. I used to like 30 Seconds to Mars when I was a kid. That's fine, guys. I'm probably only going to go maybe another. I thought I was going to get through 40 to 20, but I've ended up talking for like an hour and a half, and I'm only on 35. But yeah, like, it just, I love this world. Tron is one of those things that I just love sitting in this world and soaking it in. And essentially now, the digital characters, whose name I forget, which Ares is. So essentially the start of the film is Eve Kim and her group, which Eve Kim is played by Greta Lee, who was in Past Lives and other stuff, and Evan Peters, who's Julian Dillinger, who's the son of Dillinger from the first film. He's no longer the leader of NCOM, hasn't been there. None of the Dillingers have been the leader of NCOM for a while. NCOM is run by the Kims and all that. They took over after Garrett Hedlund's character, Sam, from the last film, gave it up and decided to go and live out in the world with Cora and stuff. And so Dillinger's and Dillinger Systems and NCOM, Eve Kim and Julian Dillinger, are trying to find this thing called the permanence code, which essentially means digital constructs within the grid can be brought out and made physical in our world, but they only last for 29 minutes. And the only person to have ever kind of cracked the permanence code was Flynn. So Eve Kim obviously has access to all of NCOM's stuff, their kind of back catalogue, everything, and she's slightly ahead because she can find a way to get through Flynn's notes, and she essentially finds it. They go to this place where her sister lived, her sister passed, and she picks up her sister's research, finds it out, and they go to this like orange tree in the middle of like the Arctic, and it lasts. Ares is built from the ground up as I'm trying to remember what they're called now. So Ares is an MCP. Why was my brain not working? So Ares is a master control program made like the MCP from the first film, but he has control over Dillinger Systems and like their area on the grid. That's the one thing I always like about Thingy, is like the grid is a visual representation of what is actually happening within your computer and Wi-Fi and things like that. That is essentially what Tron is, for want of a better word. It's an actual visualization, a realistic story of why PCs work and why Wi-Fi works and stuff like that. So he makes this program, makes Ares, trains him up, and Ares, as he's being trained, starts to become sentient, for want of a better word, and he starts asking questions. Why am I doing this? He's created to be a disposable, programmable soldier that could be brought into the real world, be sent overseas by the American government, which is what Dillinger's trying to sell it as we can create things within the grid, tanks, weapons, whatever, anything you want through code, and then be able to shoot it out of a digital printer into the real world, create it, and send you out there. And if one program dies, who cares? Just make another, and make another, and make another. And essentially that means you have an expendable army, and Dillinger Systems or Encom, if they wanted to, could essentially create world domination and get insanely rich off of it. So that's why Dillinger wants it. It's played by Evan Peters. He wants it to do that, whereas Eve's doing it because she wants to find a way to use it for good. So like curing illnesses, things like that. And if she can find a way to make something that can cure an illness on the grid and bring it out, she might be able to save people from dying needlessly, like her sister did. So yeah, essentially, she finds the permanence code. Dillinger sends Ares in the group to break into Encom to find the footage to see if she's actually got the permanence code and find a way to grab it. And when they're there, Eve gets tracked down by Ares and Athena. It's played by Jodie Turner-Smith. Try and hunt her down to kill her to get the permanence code. Dillinger doesn't give a shit. He just wants to take her out and get rid of her. But eventually, Eve gets brought into the grid, and once they got the code out of her, because obviously she's got the code disc on her back. I'm forgetting all the words from Tron now, but your data disc on your back has all your memories and everything in it. So essentially, get it out of her and then kill her and make her disappear. That's what Dillinger wants. But Ares is like, now he's becoming sentient. He's like, why? Why do I need to do this? And essentially breaks out, and a whole load of stuff happens, and Athena essentially becomes MCP because Ares breaks out, and it's a whole story on AI gaining sentience, which at a time when people are worried that AI is going to take over, a pro-AI movie isn't always going to sell well, which it didn't make any money, but none of the Tron movies have ever made money. And I think even the first one made money. They're just such a niche audience. Tron Legacy is the closest they did get to making money because it was built as a big blockbuster with the Tron name splashed on it rather than the original Tron. So it does get back to the roots of the first Tron a little bit more, like the exploration of AI and computers and what can you do and what's right to do and what's ethical and stuff like that, and essentially what Flynn was struggling with in the first film. But with A Lick of Paint to Jared Leto, essentially, it's fun. The score, which was another thing that people were really huge on for this because of Daft Punk's one for the last film. 9 Inch Nails do this one. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. If you know Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, they're one of the biggest composing teams out there. They recently did Challenges. I love that soundtrack. It's like a rinse and dance soundtrack for a lot of it. They also are most well known for doing Fincher's Social Network and a bunch of other films. But their stuff is always electronic synth heavy, but always sounds fantastic, which was why a lot of people were excited, especially because they've gone by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for so long. It's nice to get some new 9 Inch Nails material. And the score is fantastic. the cinematography, like seeing the recognizer out there, like hovering in the real world. It's the thing that I've always wanted from Jurassic Park, like bringing the dinosaurs into the real world rather than shutting them off and seeing what can happen and exploring the creativity. They didn't do that in either Rebirth or Dominion. But like taking something that has only existed in this box and taking it out of the box and going, have fun, is always so much more fulfilling creatively. Like, I didn't like the Dillinger plotline. I thought it was very basic. I thought you could have done some stuff with Gillian Anderson because she's essentially his mum going, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. No, she doesn't get a chance to actually be a character. The whole point of her character is to essentially be the yin to Julian's yang, where like he's the obsessed, over the top, will do anything to achieve his goals, goal orientated person, and he's willing to risk people's lives for it, compared to his mum, who's like, yeah, we still want to make money and stuff, but I think you're pushing it too far. That's essentially all she's there for. She's there to further Julian's character rather than to fulfill her own character thingy, which didn't really sit well with me. Yeah, so I did have a review for this one, which I'll just quickly scroll through. Another thing is obviously, like, I wish we got more with the legacy characters. Like, Sam was a really interesting character. I know Garrett Hedlund isn't as big as he was back then, but yeah, I wish they carried on with that and Cora and stuff. But yeah, I like the actors, but I don't feel like Eve's character was built upon that well, apart from the fact, oh, my sister died, I'm sad and I'm depressed. That's what I really struggle with this. Like, they have some funny moments. Hassan Minaj, he's always funny. I loved him as the Riddler in the Batman audio dramas, but yeah, just the soundtrack was a highlight. The more I sit on it, I do kind of like Ares as a character, and I like what he what's the word? Not recommends, what he is, essentially what he represents is the word. And the fact that we've gone from putting people into the grid to now bringing the grid to us was really interesting to me. But yeah, it didn't work for me. And as I say here, like the post-credit scene that they do, I don't want to say too much if you haven't seen it, because it's just come onto Disney Plus as well at the beginning of the month. It's just felt very like Marvel-y, for want of a better word. It felt like, oh my god, said character is back. Wow. Like, Tron's never really been a franchise about... Yeah, it does. Like, Legacy is a Legacy sequel, but it's not about bringing characters back for shock value. Like, it's just... The last film had just felt like this vibrant world with interesting characters, and the thing is, this kind of feels a bit flat compared to it. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy Ares as much as I thought I would, but I did enjoy the spectacle of it. I did enjoy Ares' character, and I did enjoy the score, obviously. So that's why I gave it an 8 out of 10. I would watch it again. I think it's a good film. But yeah, so that's Tron Ares. This is going to be a quick one. So One of Them Days, really good comedy with SZA and Keke Palmer. Has some really good cameos in it. Very much reminiscent of Friday or some of the films that like Another Hood. Two down on the luck, broke girls having trouble with their partners, especially SZA. Like, she's got a dickhead boyfriend, but she has sex with him really well. He's really good at sex, for want of a better figure. So she sticks around, but Keke Palmer's trying to get out of their area, trying to get out of their like shit position, get into a better house, get a bit more money. And so the film is essentially them trying to do anything to get some money together to essentially pay their rent, make sure they don't get kicked out on their ass, and try and fulfill themselves a little bit. So Keke Palmer tries to get a job. The interview goes really well, and then stuff goes to shit, and she doesn't get it. Sis is an artist. She wants to sell her paintings. Doesn't happen. So yeah, it's just like a day in the life of a group kind of film. Like, just like you put it on and it's like, this is a day in their life, but it's a really funny comedy. Like, this really funny dick jokes that I was laughing at. Scissors comedy is fantastic. Keke Palmer's always been funny. She's a multi-hyphenate, like, fantastic, just for want of a better word, artist. She's a fantastic musician. She's a fantastic actress. She's fantastic in so many areas that she goes into. She's done theatre work as well. She's great. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this. I do recommend it. There's not much I can really say about it because the premise is pretty basic and it's really one of those films that you just need to kind of experience. Yeah, again, I've also had a review for it. As I say here, fantastic comedy with really great laughs and heartfelt moments. Keke Palmer and SZA smash it out the park, and even if not every line or reference landed for a Brit like me, which I get, like, different cultures, some cultural aspects that don't really hit for me. I don't live in the States, so certain things that I was like, what does that mean, and what have you. But the soundtrack's fantastic. There's some great songs by Doechii on there. The Nissan Altima song that she does, that's great. They had some other bangers as well off the top of my head. I'm just going to have a quick Google. Keke has some songs on it. SZA has some songs on it. Yeah, we got some good stuff. As I say, that Doechii's on it, Glorilla's on it. I was trying to remember some others that were on it as well, but yeah, it's just a really fun comedy that I think a lot of people would be interested in. And yeah, just a breeze. I need to watch it again. This is one of those films that has some value in it. It has some creativity in it. It doesn't just feel like a comedy for laugh's sake. And not being funny, we don't really get that many comedies anymore. You just don't. So it's really nice to have a new comedy that hopefully gets a sequel with two really talented women, two really talented black women in the front of it who are funny and can act really well. What else do you want me to say? It's just fun. There's one that you should definitely watch if you get a chance. Next up, this is one that I want to go a little bit more in depth on, but I can't too much because of obviously I don't want the stream to go on way too long. But Captain America Brave New World. So I like Sam as a character. I didn't necessarily like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The Flag Smasher stuff didn't really work for me. The fact that they're evil and then they're now supposed to be redeemed. I get there's some sort of like... I get the political thing of they're just people acting out against the unjust system who are uniting around the world because stuff's gone bad. Especially since the blip, they've been blipped out of existence. They come back and people are struggling economically. They're struggling to because essentially for 5 years they did not exist. And so all of that fallout from Endgame essentially meant the Flag Smashers reunited to prove to the government and to prove to everybody else that people that blipped away do still matter, that things will continue on and that they need help. And Sam empathizes with Carly Morgenthau's kind of reason for doing what they're doing. He just doesn't think they should be doing it as violent as they are. And I'm not going to lie, there's some great moments in here, especially in the series, I should say, in Falcon and Winter Soldier. John Walker is a fantastic character. I love him. He's an absolute douche, and obviously he's in Thunderbolts, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. But yeah, I thought he was great in that show. the scene where he just kills that flag smasher because he's taken the serum and like it's essentially an amalgam for or analogy for roids. He's taken it up and now he's just had a roid rage and he's done something that he can't control because the serum that they got isn't as pure as the serum that Steve got. And obviously as why is his name escaping me now? Stanley Tucci's character, Erskine, said it's not the drugs, it's not the serum that makes you Captain America, it's you. So the thing on the serum is if there's bad inside you, it enhances the bad. And so like John can be a little bit unhinged at times. He's a veteran who's been to war and he's seen war in a different way than Steve has, because obviously the Iraq war and stuff like that is more of a dirty inch by inch kind of war with people using dirty tactics like suicide bombs and tripwires and stuff like that. Stuff like that did happen in World War II, but World War II is kind of glamorized as this like kind of pretty war, for want of a better word, where like people were honourable and they did honourable things. And it's like, well, they didn't, because they got Japanese kamikaze pilots and things like that. But he essentially went away and it's amplified his innate badness inside him. He's a conflicted character, and conflicted characters are always interesting, and to see his relationship with his partner and his child and stuff like that, fantastic. Sam, I think, has a really good arc in the show, but the way they turn him into Captain America just didn't really work for me. It's just way too, he trains to it, but like, and I get that as being Falcon, also being a black man, being Captain America, who's seen as this blue-eyed, blonde-haired leader of the people, to have that as a black man, especially a black man that doesn't have powers, and a whole part of that show was, does he need the powers, does he not? I personally don't think he does, especially with this film, which I'm going to get onto in a second, I promise. The vibranium tech and things like that he has, I think, yes. How can it stop a Hulk and stuff like that? This is a different question. And plot holes, I'm never really a big fan of plot holes. I just kind of tend to ignore them as long as the story and the characters work. And plot holes don't really bother me. But yeah, so Sam's stuff was great, but that last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Captain America and the Winter Soldier, just didn't work. There's a lot of like Sam lecturing about people wanting to do better, and the ending of John going down this dark deep road and then at the end of it deciding, oh no, I am going to be a hero, just felt like that. It just felt he turned on a dime rather than actually seeing the error of his ways. They didn't give him long enough to actually redeem himself, which I think if they'd cut that scene and then we've gone into Thunderbolts and the stuff happened in Thunderbolts that happened, then you can redeem him, right? So I really didn't like how they ended that show. I didn't like Sharon being the power broker. Bucky gets some really good stuff of dealing with the trauma of being the Winter Soldier and still struggling with that, and also the stuff that happened with him in Wakanda and becoming the White Wolf, and then losing his best friend and everything. Like the trauma bonding stuff between him and Sam, and them not really liking each other, but through this series growing to actually enjoy each other. Zemo was great. Like, they did Zemo a lot better in the show than they did in Civil War, in my opinion. He's a great villain, but he's not Zemo in Civil War. This, he felt more like Zemo. There's a lot in that show that I really enjoy. There's just a lot of stuff that also really drags it down. Final episode, a lot of Sam stuff. The Isaiah Bradley, I love Isaiah Bradley. Having Martian Manhunter himself, Carl Lumbly, play Isaiah Bradley, and the fact that they tie it into the Tuskegee syphilis stuff and all that, it's fantastically well thought out stuff. It gets bogged down by trying to do too much in one series and obviously like they had apparently a virus plot line, which is what the Flag Smashers were struggling with, and why they were being as dangerous as they were, is because they were like, if we don't do something now, this virus is going to wipe out the world and what have you. but yeah, it doesn't always hit, and Disney Plus series don't always tend to end well, and their endings just seem to let them down. So coming into this, I was like, yes, give me a Sam story I can actually enjoy. Make him Captain America. Give him stuff that Captain America would do. And I got to be honest, Julius Onah and his team, and obviously Kevin Feige, right, made a good film. Is it fantastic? No. I probably enjoyed it more than most. Most people probably give it 3 stars, maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It is kind of middle of the road. It has some great stuff in it. It has some less than great stuff in it. The leader stuff, they had a fantastic design, and they decided to go with him having like coral reefs on his head. He looked like an extra out of Pirates of the Caribbean. And they brought back Tim Blake Nelson for it as well, which kind of disappoints me. But I liked this. I liked that we tied in the Hulk storyline. I didn't necessarily like Sabra. You can kind of guess why. I loved Giancarlo as why is his name not registering with me now? Sidewinder. I liked him as Sidewinder. I thought he was good as like the head of the Serpent Society. I love that they brought in the Serpent Society. I love a lot of the stuff that they did in this with Ross, especially. Like after losing William Hurt as Thaddeus Ross, William Hurt was fantastic as Thaddeus Ross, and his early passing was sad because he never got to be Red Hulk. Red Hulk is one of the defining stories of Thaddeus Ross outside of him going to war with Hulk, which we've kind of done before in the Hulk movie, right? But yeah, I think I would have preferred William Hurt in this film because he brings a different style of Thaddeus Ross, a lot more sterner, a lot more. He just has a different presence to Harrison Ford. He's a lot more of a serious actor. He plays things a lot more serious, a lot more straighter than Harrison Ford does. I'm not saying Harrison Ford can't be a fantastic actor. He is. But he's known for playing big, bombastic. I think it's like Ralph Fiennes with Voldemort. Like, he brought a level of creativity. Sometimes it was a little bit over the top, I'm not going to lie. Ralph Fiennes does occasionally go over the top in some of his roles. Look at the new 28 Years Later. I need to watch that film. But he's nuts in that film. But he brings some sort of gravitas as a dramatic actor, a trained dramatic actor, which is the same thing William Hurt was, that Harrison Ford doesn't replicate, but he manages to make the role his own by just being Harrison Ford. Cool, charismatic. But they also continue the story from Civil War and Infinity War and stuff like that, with him struggling with Betty and things like this. I've said it before, yes, it's a Captain America movie, but it's essentially a stealth Incredible Hulk sequel as well. It brings in the leader, brings in Red Hulk, it brings in Betty again. The only thing is missing is Hulk actually being in this film. It's like Mark Ruffalo should have been in this, realistically. This could have been Captain America and Hulk take on the world, but I get why they didn't want to do that with Anthony Mackie's first solo outing as Captain America. But I really enjoyed a lot of the scenes. I love that they finally tied in the Tiamat stuff from Eternals. We've been complaining for ages that all these MCU stories from Phase 4 and Phase 5 are kind of like Loki's over here doing his thing. Wanda's over here doing her thing with Vision and Agatha. The Eternals are doing their thing. Shang-Chi's over here doing his thing. Spidey's doing his own thing, apart from when Doctor Strange comes into it. Doctor Strange is doing his own thing in the multiverse. And nothing really tied together apart from individual plot lines. So like WandaVision tied into Doctor Strange because Wanda was in both. No Way Home kind of tied into that as well because Doctor Strange was in it. So there's ties between certain storylines, but there didn't feel like this overly connected nature like there has been in the previous eras of the MCU. It just felt like, let's throw anything at the wall and see what sticks, essentially. Which isn't a bad plan, but for any other franchise, like DC can do that. John Wick can kind of do that. Like most of the big franchises, Mission Impossible, if they wanted to. Right, let's just put out a Mission Impossible movie where Ethan Hunt is this. Let's put out a Mission Impossible movie where we just follow Benji. Let's put out a Mission Impossible movie where we do this. And like sometimes that might dilute the brand. But for me, it's like one of those things where like you can do that with those franchises. The MCU, Marvel in general, you can. The MCU itself, you can't. Because it's so tied in. It is one ongoing storyline. It is the most expensive TV show ever told on the big screen. It is, right? So to see everything tie in again, the Tiamat stuff, bringing the leader back in, bringing in the stuff with Isaiah and Isaiah being framed for essentially trying to kill Ross, like all the Ross stuff of him like trying to be a better person now that he's the president for his daughter. Fantastic stuff. Joaquin and Sam's bonding was also great. Like he's a great Falcon. I love Joaquin. I think he's fantastic. There's just so much that they tie in this that I really appreciated as somebody that loves the world of the MCU. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The two things that most matter to me in a film, right, is the plot can be absolute tripe. I don't care. The plot can make absolutely no sense. How does this person get here and think? I don't care. That's not what I care about when it comes to movies. What I care about is the characters. I care about what they say and what they do. So just characters in general. And world building. Unless you're set on Earth, right? And your film is set on Earth and it's about earthbound people where you don't need to explain the world because I already know what the world is because I live on planet Earth, right? I don't need it. I could just deal with characters being good. Now other things also are important: cinematography, use of music, direction, all that stuff, right? But to really get me to like your film, good characters, good world building, right? And I'm sorry for people that don't like this film. It's got both. I really love Sam. I grew to love Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross because it's essentially the same character. He's just doing a different take on it, right? The Red Hulk stuff's fantastic. The score, I wish they'd brought back Henry Jackman again to do it, which is one of my bugbears. But I think Laura Cartman's theme, the dun 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 dun, was good. But I wish they brought back Louisiana Hero. That to me is Sam's theme, right? Steve had his own theme that played during Avengers and stuff. It's going back to is it Sideways' video on the Marvel Symphonic Universe, and now like Marvel doesn't tend to reuse songs apart from the Avengers theme. They don't tend to reuse songs and score beats, especially leitmotifs from previous films. So like Doctor Strange is dun 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 dun, doesn't always play. I'm probably gonna get a copyright for that, but I don't care. Or the Iron Man dun 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 dun. They don't bring back their themes. Like Steve's is probably the closest that they bring back for the films, but each film tends to have a new theme, so you can never get used to it. Like when Batman comes on the screen, right? Like I'm telling you, unless it's Hans Zimmer, the Batman theme, it would just get me going. Whether it's the 60s, whether it's the Hans Zimmer bomb 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 bomb, or it's the Elfman, like dun 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 dun, any of them, right? I'm like Batman. Even Giacchino's one, right? It screams Batman. But the good thing is with each of those movies, the Batman trilogies, and they use the same theme within each piece of media. So all of those four Batman movies from the 90s use that Batman theme. The Batman uses Giacchino's theme in the Penguin Show as well, right? Like, and obviously that's because Mick Giacchino, Michael Giacchino's brother, did the score for it. But also, like, within those franchises and those takes on the character, they use the same theme. Superman, right? The Man of Steel theme comes back in BVS and in Justice League, right? And quite often in the other times they use it, right? The Superman theme, it's used in all 4 of Reeves' movies. It's used in Superman Returns, and it's also used in Superman 2025. They obviously do a twist on it in 2025, but still. So it becomes synonymous with that character and gets you emotional because you're like, the character that I love is back and they're playing their music. But they don't do that with the MCU, but hardly ever, outside the Avengers theme. Like, I'm hoping they'll do that with the X-Men, whether it's the X-Men 97 or whatever they use. I hope they pick a theme and stick to it, right? Especially when they're doing like a team up or whatever. But it just that bugs me. And yeah, like it's very CGI heavy. Going back to this film. Some of the CGI doesn't necessarily work for me. Joaquin's thing in the ocean doesn't necessarily always work. It's supposed to show that Ross is willing to do anything to achieve his goal when he's going to kill off the Japanese just because old rivalries die hard, for want of a better word, and they're not accepting his peace treaty, so he's going to go to war with them, and he's becoming angrier and angrier. And I like that they tie back that his pills. Ross has been munching on pills since Civil War. William Hurt has been munching on those pills, and they say that the leader, Samuel Stearns, who's been under his control, shoved away in a base since the incident in Brooklyn at the lab, whatever they call it. Is it the Harlem event or whatever it is where Hulk fights Abomination, fights Blonsky. Like, I like that they tie back that the pills were made by Stearns, and Stearns was slowly dosing them, microdosing them, with gamma radiation to turn him into the Hulk. The one thing that he hates. Like, I really want to see this Ross, after he's out of the raft, obviously, interact with Ruffalo and see how different he is to William Hurt. Like, the thing I loved most about this film was the connectivity, Sam's arc and Ross's arc. All 3 of those work. Now, Sidewinder doesn't really work. Seraph didn't really care. And obviously, what do you call it? Whose brain's not working? The leader's stuff was a little bit underwhelming. To be honest, both his look and his plot is for bringing back a villain that we wanted, and it's a pretty big villain. That's like essentially saying, oh yeah, well, we're not going to do the Red Skull properly, because the leader is essentially the Hulk's villain. Yeah, Abomination is there, but Abomination is close to his doomsday. The leader is his arch nemesis. The leader is his Lex Luthor, from what I remember from the comics I used to read and the shows I used to watch. Right, the leader is his arch nemesis, like the Iron Man's is the Mandarin. And for them to essentially bring him back to, I'm going to stand around in a field and switch a button on that's going to turn people evil. Wow, what a master plan I am. Right? And like, he got outthunk by Captain America. He's supposed to be the biggest brain in the world, and he got outthunk by Sam. Just being Sam. Like, I can predict everything. Oh, you obviously didn't predict Sam, did you? Because Sam kicks your fucking ass. But yeah, it was good. I also liked to see with Bucky. I did enjoy quite a lot of it. I won't lie. I love that they tie a lot more into his military side as well, because obviously Steve was just there for the war and he doesn't really talk about the military that often apart from World War II. So it was nice. Sam was obviously part of his team in the military, his flying team, where he got the wings and all that. So it was nice to see that kind of brought in as well. But yeah, a lot of people didn't really like it. I enjoyed it. It was for me. 32, Naked Gun, another Legacy sequel. This is a film I actually really enjoyed. Again, we don't get that many comedies in the cinema anymore. Liam Neeson has done some comedy work before. It's nice to see Pamela Anderson back in a big role as well. They carry on the humour from its mile a minute jokes. So, you you've got to be on the ball, listening and hearing everything, because they'll just like do a one note joke and then move on and then go to another joke and whatever. And I was crying the whole time. Batista turns up for no reason. There's the scene where he's flying from the eagle, the snowman thing where they're having their getaway and the snowman hunts them down. The Cody Rhodes stuff, all the cameos. I really enjoyed this film. Like, is it going to blow you away? Is it going to be the next best comedy to ever comedy? No. But what it was is a step back to the comedies that we used to make in the early 2000s that weren't just rom-coms. Like, comedies for comedy's sake. We don't get them on the big screen anymore. I'm glad it made its money. I'm glad people enjoyed it. Yet again, this is another one that I need to see again. Same as one of them days and other ones that I've said on this list. Some films I only get to once, and with how bad my memory is, sometimes I forget things. So, I not really much else to say with this. You need to see it to enjoy it. I think Neeson's performance is good. Danny Houston always plays a great villain. And their scene with where he's sitting in the what do you call it? They're sitting in that seat, and he's getting his whatever sucked. I was dying. There's so many great moments in this, comedy wise, and I think Paul Waterhauser plays a good Ed's son. It's a shame that they couldn't get Leslie back because obviously he passed, but well, I better not say that in case. No, I was right. It's a shame that they didn't make this earlier, so Leslie could have had a cameo in it. Same with Ed. Obviously, you don't want OJ in it again, but they parodied that in a really good way as well. Like, there's just some really fun moments. Don't get me wrong, not all the jokes are as funny. Some of them are a little bit crude, and I was just kind of like, really, we're eating chili dogs and farting now. That's the kind of humour we're at. But then some other jokes just really landed for me. It is what it is. I like a good comedy, and it's nice to see him back on the big screen. Next, Life of Chuck. So 2025 was really the year for Stephen King adaptations, wasn't it? We had The Life of Chuck. We had The Long Walk, which is coming up a little bit later. And we have also Welcome to Derry. A bunch of other stuff. So this is based on Running Man as well, which I also forgot, which we spoke about in the last stream. Pardon me. So this is a story about, it's kind of told out of order. The world's about to end, and Chuck, essentially, these things keep popping up out of everywhere where it says, like, thank you, Chuck. And everybody's like, who is Chuck? Nobody knows who Chuck is. It turns out that Chuck is obviously the character played by Tom Hiddleston, and it's kind of told out of order and split into like 3 acts. So the first act is essentially Karen Gillan and Heath Ledger. They used to be together, and they split up. So the world is essentially ending. There's a bunch of natural disasters. We don't know when the world is going to end, but everywhere around the area, these billboards keep popping up. Thanks for 39 great years, Chuck Krantz or Charles Krantz or whatever. And essentially, a bunch of stuff happens. More disasters keep happening. The world keeps going to shit. And you wonder, is the world about to end? He goes out. He has Heath Ledger for his character goes out. He bumps into Cole Umberly. Yeah, again, I love Cole Umberly. The guy's great. And he bumps into him a couple of times. And as they know, essentially the world's about to end. And he goes to find Karen Gillan's character, and they spend time there, and then all of a sudden the stars start blotting out the sky. And somehow it's related to Chuck. And then Act 2 is essentially Chuck as an adult about a couple of years before his death. He goes out, he's walking along, and they kind of narrate it, and there's this girl that's drumming, who who busks every day, and he's walking by, and there's a girl there as well that sets up in the thing, and it kind of sets up their 3 different stories. And it turns out the guy is Chuck. He stops at this girl who's playing the drums, and just for some other reason starts dancing. And he starts getting the crowd around him, and then he picks his girl out, starts dancing there around. And then they go out, they have a bit of fun together, and have a chat, and said, like, this is mad. Like, they have it's a whole dance number right in the middle of the film, and I thought it was really good. That part was like, it's one of those films where it's like everything's out of order, everything's a little bit weird. It's Stephen King, and Mike Flanagan's directing it, who's done a lot of King stuff before, and mainly known for horror. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, this is a story just about fulfilling life. Like, what if life ended tomorrow? And seeing the happiness in what you've got in front of you, trying to be your best self, trying to put your best foot forward, trying to help other people, try to brighten people's days. And I like that message. Like, life is, and something we're going to get onto with Superman, so many people nowadays are so cynical, so apathetic, so nihilistic, and very individualistic as well. Like, the world doesn't matter. The world can end. I don't care. Everything's shit. Life's shit. The world's shit. Right? And a lot of media that we get nowadays tends to be cynical. Tends to look cynically at the government, at superheroes, if we're talking about the boys, at other stuff. Like, there's always a lot of cynicism about things. So it was nice to see this film essentially being an antidote to that. Like, it doesn't have to make sense. It matters what you feel, whether that's from the characters, whether that's from whatever. And it's just a positive story. I really enjoyed it. I thought Tom Hiddleston was great in that middle bit. They advertise that he's like the lead character, but he's barely in it. He's only in the middle act. His picture pops up in the first act. But yeah, like, and then it does act ones is like obviously in reverse chronological order, and we learn about Chuck's life, who he was, his parents passed, and he lives with his uncle and his aunt, who are played by Mark Hamill and Mia Sara, and Nick Offerman narrates the whole thing as well. And yeah, essentially it just kind of flashes through his life, so you get to know who he is and why he became the way he is, and it's a scene at school dance, which I really enjoyed. It's just a really enjoyable, fun film. It's a little bit crazy in places. Is it a little bit all over the shop? Yeah. But what I did when I first watched it, and this is yet another one that I need to watch again, it brightened my day. I really enjoyed it. I thought the performances were great from the whole cast. I thought the acting was great. The script was pretty much on point. It's just like, it's one of those films that I can't rate that much higher because it's densely packed with themes and not everything kind of jumped out at me at once. It's one of those films that, like, a bit like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or stuff like that, that sit with you, and the more you think about it, the more you pick out of it. But the actual story itself wasn't anything really groundbreaking. The cinematography is gorgeous, and the music was gorgeous, and it had a really good score, a really good soundtrack. Dance All Days by, is it Wing Chun? Was in it, and it had some other really fun songs in it as well that I liked. The dance number they played is fantastically shot and looks amazing. But yeah, there's not really much else to say. That's why I can't rate it high. It's not a story that's going to live with me till the day I die. It's a really nice upbeat movie that's made really well with some great performances, but there's not much else to it, if that makes sense. Anyway, next. Nobody 2. This is my first 8.5. We're now out of the 8s. Life of Chuck was my last 8. Nobody 2. So I like the first Nobody. I think it's a really, really fun action film. Is it as good as the Wick films? No. Is the action amazing? Yeah, it has some good moments, like the bus scene in the first one, and the scene in his home at the end and things like that. But the stories, the plot, pretty paper thin. But I like Hutch. I like Hutch's character. I love RZA as his brother. I love Christopher Lloyd as his dad. And this one is more about getting to know the family. It's kind of like a bit more middle of the road. Not middle of the road. What's the word I'm looking for? It's more straightforward. That it's like a family vacation, and while on the family vacation, essentially the guy's there. It's run by this one guy, and it's run by the police, who are then run by a drug cartel, which is the head of the drug cartel. I want to say, was Jodie Foster? Or was it Sharon Stone? No, it was Sharon Stone. I lied. It was Sharon Stone. I knew it was one or the other. But, yeah, so essentially, for those that don't know, Hutch is an ex-CIA guy. In the first film, he's living happily married, life, putting all that stuff behind him. And then all of a sudden, something triggers him. And he's bored with his life, and so he gets on this bus, sees these Russian guys harassing a woman, and so he steps in and he literally almost kills them all. Turns out one of the guys on that bus is the son of a Russian gangster, and the Russian gangster's like, "Why have you killed my son?" Tries to hunt him down, and he essentially goes in, takes all the guy's money, burns it in front of him, says, "There you go, done." And it causes a mini war, and then he just ends up killing everybody but making peace in the end. Second one, it's more of a family vacation film. The family get together, they don't really talk. Hutch is back to doing his work. He doesn't really see his kid, and he doesn't really see his wife because he's more interested in having more fun with the work than he is with them. Sad. But, he just... I enjoyed this one. I thought the action was just as good as the first one. There's a fight scene on like a boat, like a tour guide boat, that was really good. Colin Hanks plays an absolute dick in this, and I thought he was good as like the douchey police officer who's treating everybody like crap. John Ortiz, essentially, his son was involved in the altercation that you see in the trailer between Hutch's two kids. And so this guy essentially runs this town, which is John Ortiz, but he's folded out to the cartel run by Sharon Stone. Then Dina. And so essentially the theme park operator, the guy that runs the theme park, essentially runs the town. They kidnap his kid, who was the guy that messed around with Hutch's kids in the beginning. He goes to him and says, "We want to take out this Lendina. This Lendina's bad business. How do we deal with her?" And the whole last scene is RZA, Hutch, Bob Odenkirk, and their dad taking out Lendina's gang with help from John Ortiz and some of the other guys that they meet in the thingy. And I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Like, it wasn't fantastic again. Like it's straight by the numbers. You know what's going to happen. The plot isn't anything to write home about. But I like the characters. I like the family dynamics in this. The action's always great. I love when there's just this one guy that's just like, "I don't like this operation. I'm just going to take it apart," and just decides to take it apart. So yeah, Nobody 2, really good. I really enjoyed it. It's directed by Timo Tchahanto, who's the guy that directed. I want to say, I'm trying to remember what else he did. I thought, what else has he done? I recognise the name from somewhere. I thought he directed stuff before. I swear I recognise the name from somewhere. But yeah, so maybe he's a not special effects, a stunt guy on one of the other films that I've seen. But yeah, he's directing the new Beekeeper as well with Jason Statham, which is coming out soon. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought Timo was the guy that did Hardcore Henry, but I think that was the guy who did the first Nobody. I want to say Elian Eichler. Yeah, Elian Eichler did Hardcore Henry. That was the guy who directed the first film. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really good little action movie. I'd watch it again. And speaking of good little action movies, Sisu Road to Revenge. I really like the first Sisu. This guy lost his kids to a Russian family. I love watching films from different countries when this one's obviously been Americanized a little bit because they all speak English. But he's a silent protagonist who lost his family to the Russians. He's Finnish. He's an ex-Finnish commando. Played by I forget the gentleman's name now off the top of my head. Jorma Tamila. Essentially, the Finns and the Russians from World War II don't really get on. His family's destroyed. He's got nothing left, and all of a sudden the Nazis come through his village. He's hunting for gold, and he wants to take it to kind of like build himself a new house and what have you, and to get a little bit rich. And all of a sudden, this German patrol led by Axel Hennie's character. Axel Hennie's been in like The Martian and other stuff. Really well known Norwegian actor. He in Martian, Hercules, Cloverfield Paradox, and then obviously in this. And they try to hassle him. So then essentially, he just goes, you know what? I'm going to kill him. So they decide to rob and kill him. He decides that ain't happening, so he kills them all instead, and then they just follow him, and he essentially kills the whole patrol because of all the shit they did. And they find out later on that he's actually Finnish Army Commando who like he's one-man death squad, and then his family were killed, and he just doesn't care anymore, so he's just going to kill anybody. And Sisu Road to Revenge essentially picks up straight after the last one, where he takes his gold to kind of go and build a house and do what he needs to do with it. He's also got the same dog from the last film as well that he saved, that's helped save him as well. And essentially they crossed the Russian border, which was old Finnish land, so he could reclaim his house, takes his house down, loads it into the back of his truck. One of the poles has got like his children's heights. He goes into Russian territory, gets let through, and then tries to make his way back to the Finnish border to rebuild his house back home and rebuild his home and rebuild his life, essentially. Once he gets stamped in at the border, Richard Brake's character, who's like the leader of like the Russian the KGB. I can't remember what they're called then. It's mad, isn't it? Yeah, he finds out and he goes to the one guy who can actually do something about Corpy, Atami Corpy, who's John Matilla's character. And he goes, "You're the guy. I'm going to take you out of jail." Turns out to be Dragunov, played by Stephen Lang, who's the guy that killed his kids and killed his wife and killed Corpy's family. And essentially, they try and hunt him down the whole film and try to stop him from crossing the Finnish border and end him. And it's just an all-out war. There's a couple of scenes where like he's being attacked by planes who try and drop bombs on him. Dragunov sends some people on bikes towards him to blow him up. They've got like grenades on the side. It's like a whole like Indiana Jones scene where they're climbing on top of the truck trying to get into him to kill him. He takes them all out, and then he gets to that part, and then he gets driven off one of the cliffs by one of the planes, and essentially gets out of the car, frees his dog, and then collects all the wood that was in the back of it, floated it up, made a raft out of it, and then continued and came across an old dead tank, which he then uses the tank to try and cross the border, which he does. And Dragunov's looking like shit, pulls him out of the tank in the end, and they're going to take him back to Russia to essentially pay for his crimes, take him back to Moscow to pay for his crimes. And then a whole train scene breaks down, like that's as long as the train scene in Dial of Destiny and the Lone Ranger. Like the whole train scene where he works his way through the train, killing everybody in his bath. Really simple movie, really good, bloody. There's so many scenes that that make you wince. Like there's a couple of scenes where he's working his way through the train, there's glass on the floor and he has to step on it, and the glass like pokes into his foot, and you're sat there like, oh god. And there's some other scenes where he's like pulling like shrapnel out of his shoulder and all sorts of stuff, and bodies are exploding everywhere. It's cool. Like it's simple. Give me good characters, give me explosive action. Dumb man brain goes, oh, me likey. What else do you want? So that's Sisu. Let's move on to Mission Impossible. So Final Reckoning is a film that disappointed me that it wasn't better than it was, if that makes sense. For being the final movie in the Mission Impossible franchise, like what is being deemed the final movie in the Mission Impossible franchise. I thought it kind of didn't work as well as I wanted it to. Gabriel was a terrible villain. They set him up so well in Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning Part 1, whatever you want to call it, Dead Reckoning, has a logical plot that works the whole way, right? With interesting side characters. Paris, Carrie Elwes' his character, that works for the CIA. Bringing back Henry Czerny as why is his name escaping me? Kittredge. Why can't I remember Kittredge's name? But yeah, Kittredge, bringing him back and making him like the liaison between the CIA and the Mitsopoulos family. Again, Max from the first film, Vanessa Redgrave's character. And stuff like that. Making him the bridge between Shea Wiggum and Shea Wiggum's character and the guy from Top Gun, Greg Tarzan Davis. So Degas and Briggs. Like I thought a lot of what happened in that first film, Gabriel did feel like a threatening villain. So did the Entity in that first one. A lot of the set pieces are great. The scene of him in the Mini going around Paris, fantastic. Being hunted by Paris, great joke. The scene in the beginning with everything going on. The stuff at the end with the key swap where he's doing the bike jump and then parachuting onto the train. Fantastic scene. With the Orient Express, all the stuff in the airport that he does, fantastic. Or is it Rome that they do the because they go down the Rome steps. Same stunt that Fast and Furious 10 did the same year, which is funny. But so really simple plot. Got to get these two pieces of the key. Pardon me, two pieces of the key to get the entity source code to destroy it, so the entity can't take over the world and basically kill everybody and live in the world of the Matrix. Interesting plot. Yeah, a bit far-fetched for Mission Impossible, but Mission Impossible is far-fetched. What do you expect? Right? And then we transition into this one. This one is supposed to be a part 2, but it feels more like its own film. Like, from the start, spoilers, Luther gets killed off, which broke my heart, but also was kind of disappointing because, like, I get that Ving Rhames is getting on a bit, but, like, Luther's such a great character, like, and the fact that he dies within the first 10 minutes and he had some sort of mystery illness when he was fine in the last film, I didn't get that. You essentially killed off Ilsa Faust. I was going to say Rebecca Ferguson, but Ilsa. Killed off Ilsa for no reason, just to build up Gabriel, and he didn't really do anything. It starts off well, this film, with him coming out of the thing and finding the base and sorting the stuff out with Luther. But it just feels so bogged down with exposition. There's so much, go and do this, remember this from your past, Ethan, remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that. And so many scenes of flashbacks to films prior, like, oh, remember the rabbit's foot and Davian and your wife and whatever, and like, oh, you never knew what the rabbit's foot was, did you, Ethan? And it's like, well, I get that you're trying to tie this film into being the ending, but then the ending essentially means, like, Ethan's still out there. You didn't end it with Ethan's passing or death or whatever. So, like, there is no ending to this. It doesn't feel like at the end of the film, this is the culmination of all the films before. Fallout did that. You could have ended on Fallout and it would have been fine. But, like, you set this up as a part 2 and essentially rewrote a lot of it, and a lot of it doesn't work. Like, so many goofy scenes in this. Like, the ending doesn't really work. Like, on the biplane stunt itself is great, but what actually happens in that scene is just way too goofy for me. All the recruit in Paris and then Degas and stuff, and then Briggs being related to Phelps and essentially he's Phelps' son and all that. It just felt way too much like tying into the previous movies. Then you bring back Don Lowe, you bring back Ralph Saxon, I believe that's the gentleman's name, to or Ralph Saxon, to play Don Lowe again, and essentially get him to do nothing. It's just, the stunts worked, like the sub scene, that whole sub scene at the bottom of the ocean, fantastically done. It had tension, it had everything going for it. I really enjoyed it. Like, it's just, I really struggled with the plot in this. It was so convoluted. It was way too much referencing the past. Ethan didn't really get much in the way of character work to do in this film. It was mainly more Grace and all the other characters around him. They get more kind of like development, which don't really needs. Ethan's like 8th film. He doesn't really need any more development. But, like, I thought these flashbacks to his past with Gabriel and all that was going to be dealt with, and kind of it isn't. And then the entity stuff didn't really. It didn't have that epic feel that I wanted it to be, and it just felt very convoluted. But when it works, when they're doing the action scenes, when they're doing the stunt work, when the Mission Impossible music kicks in and stuff like that, it's some of the best of the series. So this is where I'm really torn, where I gave it 4 stars because I did really enjoy a lot about it. I did enjoy the nostalgia. I did enjoy some of the other stuff, the stunts, some of the character work, some of the whatever. And it's still a fun film, but I couldn't put it any higher than an 8.5 because the negatives just hold it back so much. Like, realistically, I even think an 8.5 is probably too high. I need to go back through this list eventually, especially as I start watching them again. But ratings are ratings. That's always going to happen. But yeah, that was Mission Impossible. I was a little bit more disappointed than I wanted to be. And then we move on to the bad guys. So I really like the first Bad Guys. Fantastic script, fantastic writing, obviously based on a book, which I didn't know at the time. But Pierre Perifrel, who directs the first one, I think his name's Pierre. Pierre Perif. Yeah, I was right. Excellent direction for the animation. Story obviously starts with the flashback to to Webb's first thingy with the crew, and then we deal with the fallout from Professor Marmalade's arrest, and the fact that they're now reformed and they're trying to get jobs, but nobody wants to offer them a job. So they end up just being poor, essentially. Snake's getting on really well because he's sneaking off every night, and they give him this like cool dude bro, not dude bro, but like stoner dude kind of personality. He just comes in, he's like, yeah, dudes, whatever. And I thought the reveal of his girlfriend, great. And essentially, the story is, the bad guys think his girlfriend is gonna. My brain is starting to rot. Bear with me, guys. I'm just gonna have another sip of my drink, and then I might have a quick break. So I've been on here for nearly 2.5 hours. I think we'll probably go till 25. So I did kind of lie on my title and say I only did thingy. I was gonna do up to 20, but yeah. Let me just refresh. I'll be back in a second, and we'll do 27, 26, 25, and then we'll probably leave it there. All right, see you in a bit. Right. Yeah, I just needed a quick break. My brain was starting to go a bit funny. So, yeah. Bad Guys 2. Another one, like I say, I really enjoyed. The score is fantastic. The animation is fantastic. The crew, Sam Rockwell, Aquafina, Mark Maron, Craig Robinson, and the rest are still as good as they always are. Obviously, now they're trying to reform. Snake has now got a girlfriend, who the guys don't really know about yet. But Wolf and Diane are trying to like get on the same page. Maybe a relationship forming. He goes there weekly to like have workouts with her and stuff, and to train. And while there, Wolf and the crew want to get back into doing what they're good at, which is essentially like being bad guys, but doing it for the good guys. And they want to help Chief Loggins, because she's now Chief, hunt down this Phantom Bandit. Mainly on Diane's kind of like prompting. It's like, go back to do what you're good at, kind of thing. And he goes, oh, well, we'll help with this then. The Phantom Bandit, which is a criminal known for being untraceable. They find out Snake's girlfriend, who's Susan, and they go to this Lucha Libre event, which is where they see Snake and Susan and meet them, because they think the Phantom Bandit is gonna steal the belt from the wrestling tournament because it's got something in it that they want, essentially unobtainium. They get there, they have a massive stylized fight, which was like the Spider-Verse kind of like levels of stylizing. Like, they had some waterworks in there. They had some water painting. Sorry, they had some sort of frame rate changes. Like, things were bigger than they were, and camera work is like fantastic on these. They always are. And yeah, so essentially they have this massive Lucha Libre tournament. They get the belt, but it turns out Susan is actually a double crosser, and she's got her own group made up of Kitty, the Snow Leopard, who was the Phantom Bandit, and Petrova, who's like their muscle essentially in the gang. They're there because they want to steal a bunch of unobtainium to essentially steal a rocket, go up into space, and steal everyone's gold. And that's their plan, essentially. And they want the bad guys to help them, and the bad guys kind of are tempted with it because their lives haven't really got any better since becoming the good guys. So they take them up. They're thinking about taking them up on their offer, but realistically, they want to. Wolf is the only guy that doesn't really want to do it because he wants to be with Diane, so he wants to be a better person, whereas the rest of the guys are kind of like, well, my life's not much better. And like Snake is like, well, my girlfriend has just turned into evil and is another like crook. But yeah, so they're going to do that, but Kitty also has a video of Diane being the Crimson Paw, which is obviously her former criminal identity from the first one, but the rest of the world doesn't know that she is the Crimson Paw. So they essentially reluctantly help because the crew, including Kitty, have dirt on Diane that could put her away. And yeah, it's a pretty simple plot. It's a good opening. Kind of go into kind of what the plot's about, which is the bad guys trying to become good but still struggling because good isn't getting them anywhere, and they've still got a bad reputation when they were the bad guys. And yeah, then we get into this story, and I will say the one thing that puts it really high up for me is Daniel Pemberton's score. Like, I love Daniel Pemberton. Every single film he scores is A grade. Spider-Verse, both Spider-Verse movies, fantastic. Every single time his electronic scores with the heavy drums and mixed in with like the percussion and all the different strings that he uses and how he uses his electronic sound just always gives you earworms. And the song that they use for Boarding the Rocket, it was on my Spotify Wrapped as one of my top songs of the year just because it's so well done. Out of nowhere, this epic song comes on as the bad guys try and infiltrate this rocket, and it's just like the whole ending, fantastic. And I really like these characters. Like, the one thing that bugs me about Bad Guys 1, never got a Blu-ray release, and as you can tell, big Blu-ray guy. But 2 has, so I'm a bit frustrated. I'm hoping they're going to do a double pack if they haven't already. But yeah, no, it's a really, really fun sequel. With great characters, great moments, great music, and yeah, this is one that the whole family can enjoy, and I think it's as good, if not slightly better than the first one, and I really loved the first one. So yeah, it was really, really fun, just outside my 25, but still really enjoyable. 26. So Sorry Baby is a hard film to kind of talk about because it deals with a lot of like intense topics, and it's not normally the type of film that I'm known for watching. I do enjoy my dramas. I do enjoy my kind of like drama comedies. And I there's not always really that much to say that hasn't already been said with a lot of those films, like Hamnet that I'm going to see this week. Like, people already know that they're either going to love it or they're going to hate it, because it's an Oscar bait film. I'm saying this is an Oscar bait film, but it's a really emotional story about Eva Victor's character, who uses they them pronouns, I believe, so I'll be referring to him as such, who essentially is living alone, works for the college that they were at before. So like it kind of flashes backwards and forwards through time based on Eva Victor's character. And it's kind of a story of how she deals with trauma, being alone. She wants to be with her friend, who's played by Naomi Aki, but never really had a chance. She's the only one that really cares about it. It's an exploration of kind of female friendship, about struggling with assault, which is a core theme in the story. As they deal with the fallout from it. Essentially, it's a really hard film to kind of describe, and it's not one that I really want to go too much into, because this is one that I'd much rather you guys go and watch for yourself and make your own mind up. And plus, yeah, again, it's another film I've only seen once, and this is such a layered film. It's got so many themes and so many quiet moments and so many sad moments that just sit there. Like, there's a scene between Agnes, played by Eva Victor, who also directed the film as well, I believe, who sat with John Carroll Lynch, who's amazing character actor. I love him in everything he's in. He's great in Chicago 7. He's great in Zodiac. He's great in a bunch of other stuff. And she sits there and, they sit there and start talking about what's happened to him with this guy who's a sandwich maker. And like, there's so many, like, he struggles to open up and know what to do. Agnes doesn't really know what to say either. And yeah, it's really interesting layered film. This is not really much I could say about it, because I need to watch it again. That makes sense. And I am getting pretty tired. I'm not gonna lie. So finally, 25, We Live in Time. Another drama that I really enjoyed. I love Florence Pugh. I love Andrew Garfield. They have fantastic chemistry in this film. Florence Pugh essentially plays Alma, who it's essentially their romance. It is a romantic dramedy, and it's told out of. It's not told linearly. Like we just pop into moments in their life, which is why it's called We Live in Time. Like, there's different time moments. 1 minute they're meeting, the next minute she's pregnant, and then we'll flash forward to Alma having cancer because she's ill, and seeing moments where her and I'm trying to remember what Andrew Garfield. She's Almut, not Alma, and then Tobias, and yeah. So like, essentially, she strikes his car. She stays with him because she's worried about him, and essentially develop a relationship. And like, it's really cute. Like, these two have fantastic chemistry. Yes, it's sad, like that she has ovarian cancer and they can only have one kid, but it essentially just goes through their life, through when first time they met to the ending of where Alma might or may not die. We don't know. They kind of leave it off on a cliffhanger, but yeah, it's just a really, really sweet but sad film with some funny moments about two characters and just kind of going through their life, which is things that I like. I like a day in the life of somebody else's life, like seeing how they are. It's uniquely British. It feels very British. I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't. But it doesn't have any of the, what's the word? The over the top stuff that you get in like Richard, why is his name not coming to me? The directed Love Actually and all that. It's not as cheesy or Richard Curtis. It's not as cheesy as a Richard Curtis film, or doesn't have like some of those goofy moments. The romance feels earned, and the chemistry feels great, and they feel like actual real people that are written like actual real people. This isn't like saying, "Oh yeah," and then we did this and we did that, and like, do you know what I mean? Like they actually talk like people and emote like real people and have conversations like real people, and they're the best scripts. Is when it just feels natural and it feels real, which it does. And then you add these two in, who have fantastic chemistry, and it was really nice. It was really nice seeing their relationship. I could have done without the non-linear narrative, but I get that the whole point of the film is the non-linear narrative, because essentially it's just like picture books of time throughout their life, which I like. It does occasionally make things confusing, where like 1 minute she's got cancer, the next minute she looks healthy and she's pregnant, and then the next minute they're just getting to know each other, and it's like, hang on, what's happening? And there's no kind of like telling you that they're flashing between them all. It just does it. And there's no like screen to say, oh yeah, 5 years later, or like in some films where if we're following like 3 different timelines or 4 different timelines, they'll have the date or something flash up on the screen. So you know, right, so we're in this time period. And then when we eventually flash away from it and go to a different time period and then come back to it later, they give a visually distinct way of us to know the different time periods that they're in. Whether it's a different colour palette, whether it's a different, whether it's in black and white, or some sort of the way the camera moves or the way the camera works is different in each different timeline, so we can kind of have some way to discern between the different periods of time. Whereas this doesn't do that. But yeah, this is another one. I own the Blu-ray. I need to watch again. I've only watched it once. This is becoming a running theme at this point. But I really enjoyed it. It was sweet and sad and romantic and gorgeous to look at and funny. It just has the whole spectrum of emotions, and that's exactly what you want out of film. Same with Sorry Baby as well. Like, yeah, I just need to kind of like rewatch some of them, and this is just a stream for me to chill out and kind of rank it. This isn't going to be anything serious. I do want to make a video eventually where I do actually do this ranking, but do it in a couple of words and be a bit more succinct. Even if I don't get to it for this year, maybe next year I'll do a full live stream and then go into what have you. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed today. I really enjoyed streaming. I know it's like 1:15, so I don't doubt that there's going to be that many more people watching. But yeah, thanks for coming along. Thanks for being patient with me because of life getting in the way and stuff. But it's been nice doing the stream. I'm going to leave it up. Hopefully some people comment on it and what have you. I've got some other videos planned for coming up soon. I should be going to the cinema tomorrow. So I want to get some reviews out for whatever I watch, whatever form they take. And then I also want to maybe post some gameplay playthroughs. I'm not going to go too much into it, but like there's a lot of story games out that I really want to play that I would love to do like a playthrough on this channel. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, as I said in the last stream, I'm just going to post now as and when I want, say what I'm feeling, say what I'm thinking. I'm never offensive. Sometimes I'll get things wrong. Sometimes I'll say the wrong thing, but I'm accountable for that. Like if I've said the wrong thing in this stream, fair enough. Like that's just me. Like that's how I've always been. But yeah, it's one of those things where like I want to get back into making stuff. I've enjoyed doing this stream, even though I'm absolutely shattered. I'm cream crackered. I probably swore a bit too much as well. I'm trying not to swear as much for YouTube, but yeah, I enjoyed tonight. Thanks for coming along, guys. Thanks for those of you that have probably just been lurking in chat, haven't really commented or whatever. Look out for part 3 coming soon. I'm hoping to get this series of streams wrapped up this week, the latest Sunday. So if I have to do a part 3, I'm hoping to do it on Thursday, or Friday, depending. And then Sunday, Monday, I'm off and I want to get it finished so I can start looking towards other stuff. And I also want to maybe stream some stuff in future as well. Not games, but talking about films, news clips like that. So if there's anything you're down for, just give me a shout. Put some comments in. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming along. I am going to go and have some long rest now because I am absolutely shattered. I hope you enjoyed. We'll finish this off, as I say, hopefully on Thursday. So whether that's me just doing the last 25 or I do 25 through to 10 and then do a part 4 on Sunday or Monday next week, then I'd love to do that. And as I say, eventually we'll do a more condensed version. I don't care about views or whatever. I'm just doing it because I'm for the love of the game, as they say.